Cloud computing is not an optional anymore. And in this video, I am going to explain you the overall concept of a cloud computing in a very layman language. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. Let's assume I am a CTO of a company and me and my team have been working to develop a e-commerce based application. The front end of the app is on React, whereas the backend we are relying for .NET Core along with SQL Server as my database. After months of effort, me and my team were able to complete this entire application, and now we have to make this application publicly available. And for that purpose, I have to deploy this code somewhere over the internet so that my app can be used by my customers. Deploying of that code on an internet requires couple of hardware stuff. First of all, I need to buy up a space where I can set up my infrastructure. Now, let's come to the infra part. I need a server in which I am going to host my application. Along with this server, I also need to set up an operating system. Now, depending upon my application, I can either go with Windows or maybe Linux, but I need an operating system as well. Also, I have to install a web server on this particular machine, so maybe we have to go with an IaaS. I also have to make sure that this application should be up and running 24 by 7. So I need a consistent power supply. And for that, I may have to buy a generator, may have to buy an inverter, whatever mode that suits my need, but I need to give a consistent power supply to this machine. My app should be accessible 24 by 7, so I should have a static IP address. And since it's a web application, I also need to manage tons of things, like one of them is maintaining my SSL certificate. Now, you have noticed that in order to deploy this application or in order to make this application available to my end user, I have to set up all these things, and this requires a cost. Let's say $1,000 for all those accessories which I have listed so far. Now, there is a problem. My app is pretty new. I don't have any consumer base, but still, as a company, as a CTO, I have to invest this much amount of money in order to make my application publicly available. I'm not sure whether my business will grow, it will fall, but this amount comes with a risk. And this is a huge amount. Whenever a company performs this kind of infra setup for deploying an application, that infra is called as on-premise deployment. And please note down this term. You are going to hear this term a lot in a cloud ecosystem or in a cloud journey. In simple terms, whenever I'm deploying something and I'm maintaining all the infra cost of everything by my own, that is a on-premise deployment. Now let's assume the same requirement with some different use cases. I still want to deploy my application to the server, and I also want to make it available publicly, but this time I am not going to invest this $1,000 upfront. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to a proper cloud provider. Currently, there are three major players that provide a cloud ecosystem, and one of them is Azure, then AWS, and GCP. Azure is backed by Microsoft, whereas AWS is backed by Amazon, and GCP stands for a Google Cloud Platform. There are some private vendors as well, but the major market share has been captured by these three providers. Now, these provider will really help me out to deploy my application, and they simply says that you need not to buy any kind of infrastructure in order to make your application available. Rather, rather of purchasing anything, you should rent them. Now, that's interesting. What do you mean by renting in terms of infrastructure? So these cloud providers says that we have already provisioned a huge data center in multiple geographies in different part of our world. And what you will be doing is, what you have to do is that you have to give us certain amount of money on a monthly basis. And with that money, we are going to provide you everything, whatever you need. So this list is not complete for deployment, but whatever you need as a part of your deployment strategy, as a part of your requirement, we are going to provide you everything. And all you have to do is not to pay $1,000 upfront. Rather, what we can say, you have to pay us $50 per month in order to use these resources. Whenever you think that your business is not expanding and you want to shut it down, you don't have to worry about it. Just stop using our services and you are good to go. This is the power of cloud computing. And with the help of a cloud computing, the small businesses can actually make them operational with a bare minimum cost. Say setting up an on-premise deployment area will cost me a huge. It will be having a upfront cost. But whenever you talk about a cloud computing, you don't have any upfront cost. Obviously, you need a skill set, you need a specialized person to manage all these things, but the cost that is required to manage this kind of infrastructure is negligible. That is the power of cloud computing. Now, let's take another example. Let's assume my app is up and running and I'm getting a lot of traction on it. It means my business is growing. And I notice that whatever the space, whatever the server that I have provisioned earlier is not sufficient anymore. I need to buy up more resources. I need to buy up a powerful server to serve my more customer. Earlier, my consumer base was, let's say, a 1000 user, and now it has been grown to a million user. And I have noticed that my app is lagging. My servers are struggling to serve my customer. If I follow an on-premise deployment strategy, I again have to spend a couple of dollars to make it work. Not 1000, but let's say 500 this time. And this $500 will again be required as a part of my infra setup. Whereas in a cloud computing, you don't have to worry about it. Let's say the same configuration of the server that is struggling to serve the customer and you are paying a $50, you will again come back to this cloud provider like Azure, GCP, or AWS and will ask them that I need more server space. I need a more powerful server. And in that case, they will say that, okay, you need more, start giving us more amount and will increase the power of server. There is a concept called as vertical scaling versus horizontal scaling, which I am going to explain later in this series. But as of now, you can simply think that because of these bits, I would be able to deploy my application or to host my application without any much upfront cost. Now, if I want to increase the server space, increase the size of it, just pay a little bit more to this cloud provider and they will automatically increase the server capacity as well as the RAM or whatever you need as per your own use case. With the help of cloud computing, I can easily scale up my application. I can simply deploy multiple servers to serve my customer. I need not to worry about the power supply. I need not to worry about the IP address. I need not to worry about any other cost or any other setup which is required for my application. These data center which these provider provides are spread across the different part of geographies. So even if one of the region is down, let's say because of any conflict, maybe any kind of natural calamity, let's say that my application is hosted in a US region, for an example, and because of some conflict, this entire data center is down. Even in that case, your app will be up and running. If you have hosted your application in multiple region, let's say a EU region, then in that case, your app will be served to the end user, to the customer from the EU region and not from the US region, right? There are multiple things in a cloud computing, which we will be discussing as a part of my cloud computing series on this YouTube channel. I hope this video will give you an idea about the overview of a cloud computing, but there are many other steps involved in this entire process, which I am going to cover soon. Till that time, please stay tuned to this channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel itself. Thank you.